Good afternoon once again, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Lewis Basketball Network. You already know who it is. It is your boy Lewis, and I am back once again with another one. Welcome back to my channel, and I am back with another banger with yet another video. Make sure to like this video, man. Make sure to share this video. Only helps the channel grow. Truly appreciate it, guys. So I want to just cover a couple of things before we get started. Number one, so it was just reported that Danny Ainge has suffered a mild heart attack. The president of basketball operations from the Boston Celtics, it was a mild heart attack that he suffered, and he was admitted to the hospital on Tuesday night in Milwaukee. The good news is it was just mild, and he's expected to make a full recovery. So my prayers are for Danny Ainge, and prayers to his family, and condolences. You never want to see somebody in a position like that, no matter if we love or hate. Like I said, whether we love them or we don't like them. But as a human being, I wish him nothing but the best. And like I said, the good thing is it's a mild heart attack. It wasn't nothing life-threatening, and so he's able to make a full recovery. So I'm very happy to hear that. So that's just wonderful news. So, shout out to Danny Ainge. Shout out to Celtics fans. Shout out to the Celtics organization, and shout out to the Boston Celtics. Period. You know, Danny deserves the support. Like I said, I hope I wish him nothing but the best, and I wish him well. So covering on that. So my next topic. So what I wanted to cover is basically this whole thing on the Golden State Warriors and the Houston Rockets through the first two games. Let me break this down from both sides and both perspectives. The Golden State Warriors have not played their best basketball this entire postseason, even through their victories. 1 minute they look like they're the most dominant team in the NBA. And then the next minute they look like any other regular NBA team that can be beat on any given night, right? The Golden State Warriors through the first two games, like I said, the scores that they've won by would not indicate in how much they have dominated the most in very key areas in terms of where Houston needs to clean up and to get better at. The Golden State Warriors have not looked good. Steph Curry. I meant to start with Steve Kerr instead of Steph Curry. With Steve Kerr, I feel like he's not really doing that much of a coaching job in terms of trying to get Steph and Clay more open looks, because both guys are struggling through the first two games. Curry had a good series against the Clippers. Now he's impactful because the Clippers pretty much put most of their attention on Curry, because they're not going to let him get off of his three-point bombs, which is why he had a quiet 24.7 points per game, but shot 50% from the field and from the three-point line, and shot nearly 98% from the free throw line, which is incredible. And in the playoffs, Steph Curry shooting 97% from the free throw line. But he struggled through the first two games. He is dealing with a dislocated finger that was popped back in when he injured it in game two. He also is dealing with an ankle injury, so I understand that as well. So it's Curry's been dealing with that pretty much mostly his entire career. And we'll keep other guys out. Curry has been able to play, so I don't know how injured Curry is, but I respect the guy. It's funny, he lives up to that last name of the team, Warrior, because Steph Curry's been nothing but that, being able to try to play through a couple of injuries that he has. Klay Thompson, with the way he twisted his ankle, he actually had a much better game in game two. The crazy thing is, though, Klay Thompson started 8 of 14. He missed his last 5 shots of the game. So when I look at the Warriors, and people are saying, the Warriors are the number one offense in the playoffs right now. Okay, that may be the case, but the issue is that the Warriors' defense, for me, it looks dominant in stretches. But then at the same time, teams are able to come back because for some reason they just can't keep that foot on the gas pedal. It's like they can't sustain it. People are talking about this Hampton Five. Here's the thing with the Warriors. People have said, that, the Warriors, I'm tired of people saying that the Warriors look vulnerable. I'm saying I'm sick and tired of the Warriors because they've ruined the NBA and this and that. No matter which way we put it, the Warriors are the best team until somebody knocks them off. They may not look like the best team. They may have not played like the best team, but they're the champions, so they're the best team. The best team is the team that always wins, right? But with the Warriors, it's like, Draymond, we could talk about how great Draymond Green's looked, Iguodala's looked, how Kevin Durant is having a historic postseason. And even with that being said, Steph and Clay have struggled. Their bench is depleted, and they don't have DeMarcus Cousins. The Houston Rockets, I have said many occasions that this is the way they play the isolation heavy offense, right? Where they shoot a lot of threes. Which is why I say that both coaches coming in, to me, they're both overrated in my opinion in terms of Steve Kerr and Mike D'Antoni. Now, Steve Kerr has made little subtle adjustments here and there, don't get me wrong. But at least with Steve Kerr, he's actually made a couple of adjustments as compared to Mike D'Antoni. Mike D'Antoni really hasn't made any. He's trying to ride with the guys that he has, and the fact that the Houston Rockets are trying to rely on referees. See, James Harden did a much better job in Game 2 of not relying on the whistle. Chris Paul kept trying to rely on the whistle. And it's like, as good as the Warriors have looked, and I told you, they won the turnover battle, the points in the paint, the fast break points, the points off turnovers, the assist battle. But if you look at the first 2 games, the Rockets only lost by 4 and they lost by 6. Part of the problem is the Warriors actually had late turnovers in the fourth quarter, even though they scored 33 points. Their defense allowed 34 points, and it doesn't get talked about. It doesn't really get talked about. Some of it was due to garbage time in terms of the scoring, but the Warriors got a little bit sloppy with the basketball. They only had 12 turnovers in Game 2 compared to 20 in Game 1. But that was because I felt the Rockets' defense was not really that good pressuring the basketball for most of the game. Because they could have forced more turnovers. Because if you remember, in Game 1, they had 14 steals. And I felt like in Game 2, for some reason, they just weren't really into this game because they were so worried about the refs. And my question is that people are talking about, that if the Warriors are not careful, we could say that about the Warriors, but the Rockets have to be careful too. Because if they don't win Game 3, they're going to get swept. And if they don't get swept, they're going to lose in a gentleman's sweep in 5 games. And then what's going to happen is people are going to treat the Houston Rockets like they treated LeBron with the Cavaliers in Game 1 of last year's NBA Finals. That one game decided the entire series. Or at least the players let one game decide the entire series, because it's going to be like, well, you're so focused on trying to get the calls in Game 1, but you had other games to play, Games 2, 3, 4, or whatever, and how many games it may be. But I think that that Golden State needs to get their act together, because they can't. To me, it's like they're giving opportunities to the Rockets, and the Rockets are choosing to not take advantage of them. And it's like, what they need to do is, if they happen to dispatch the Rockets early, they need to really take the time to prepare for their next opponent. Now, I really feel like the Blazers are the one team that could really give them a run for their money. The Nuggets have the depth, but it's like they play in spurts, and it's like they need that go-to guy. And I feel like against the Warriors, they're going to need that, and I don't think they're going to have it. They're deep. The Nuggets have players that they can go to, but it's a matter of because you saw what happened in Game 2 against the Blazers. They really just couldn't knock their shots down. So it was really tough. It's where do I have this series going now? I'm not going to judge this series until Game 3. Game 3 is going to tell me, do the Rockets have the chance to get back in the series and win the series, or are the Rockets pretty much finished? So Game 3 is going to decide that. And people who are talking about Kevin Durant, like I said, Kevin Durant has had a great postseason so far, but it's been mostly through the first round against the Clippers. Right now, he's gotten his points. He's averaging 32 in this series, but he's not shooting the ball very well. It's a combination of shots that KD's missed, along with the good defense that PJ Tucker is playing. Even James Harden has done a good job playing defense on Kevin Durant as well. He's taking stretches to guard him. But let's be very clear, too. James Harden got injured in his eye. Before that, he had not scored a point. After he came back from the eye injury, now I'm not saying that your eye isn't going to impair your vision, because it is. But James Harden came back and scored 29 points, and he was 9 of 16 from the field, which was his most efficient game of the entire postseason up to date, which tells you, and the way James Harden was doing it, he was mixing up attacking the rim and allowing to utilize his step back three. But what James Harden needs to do is continue to attack, take less dribbles and attack and be very quick with your decision making, man. Just go to the basket. And if they happen to come and close out, use Capella right there, man. You got the lobs right there, man. It's available. And the floaters are available. It's a little bit less of a shot because that's not what Harden shoots more threes than he does twos. But it's there. I also have to say that CP3 needs the ball in his hands down the stretch. The fact that James Harden has been ball dominant in these first two games. What was the point? What was the point for the Rockets to bring Chris Paul? See, that's where I look at that as a coaching change. That's a coaching adjustment. If Mike D'Antoni does not make coaching adjustments, the Rockets are not going to beat the Warriors. Now we could also talk about the players, that they need to take accountability and take it upon themselves. But I have to put accountability on the coach as well, because he's choosing not to adjust. He honestly and I'm like, if you give the Warriors any leeway, because it's like, this is why the Warriors, look, they played better in game 2 than they did in game 1. And then even then, so the game was still right there because the Rockets outscored their bench and the Rockets were able to hit more threes than the Warriors. If Steph and Clay are to get going, Steve Kerr has to do a better job to be able to free them up. Give the Rockets defense some credit, and Steph Curry and Clay are missing shots that they would normally hit. But Steve Kerr has to be able to free them up. He's going to have to do a little more screen action, a little more double screen action to get these guys better looks. And Clay, like I said, Clay had a better game too. He just missed the last 5 shots down the stretch. And I said the Rockets have to be careful because Kevin Durant hasn't played that great, and it's like you get a bomb. Listen, you get a bomb of a game from Steph Curry, one of those big moment games, one of those coming out games from either Steph and Clay in game 3, and then you're able to get it from a different guy in game 4, and Kevin Durant can be the closer. It's going to be over for the Houston Rockets. And then what we're going to say, well, what were the excuses? Well, we got to blame the refs. The refs swept us 4-0. Like we really need to stop. Another thing. In terms of, Kevin Durant, the media has been going crazy these last 2 weeks on Kevin Durant since LeBron James is not in the playoffs. Yeah, they're talking about LeBron, but now people are going with this narrative that it's going from KD is the best player in the world to now is Kevin Durant better than LeBron James to is Kevin Durant, can you compare Kevin Durant to Michael Jordan to now is Kevin Durant already a top 10 player of all time, and why Kevin Durant, it's crazy to him to leave the Golden State Warriors to now Kevin Durant is the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar of this era. We cannot be prisoners of the moment. When it comes to Kevin Durant, the only thing that I'm going to give credit for is that Kevin Durant is the best player in the world right now. He is. Now, people have mixed opinions about, well, Kevin Durant should stay because it's a golden situation, no point intended, golden situation in Golden State, or he needs to prove himself to go to another team. The reason I say that Kevin should do what he wants is because if he decides to go to another team, let's say that Kevin Durant doesn't get it done, the media is going to say, well, you were never really the best player. This is why LeBron is the best, because he took a bunch of mediocre scrubs to the finals. He took trash teams to the finals. You were never able to do that. Kevin Durant has led a team. Kevin Durant has led a team to the NBA Finals. Yes, he played with Russell Westbrook, and yes, he's played with James Harden, but he has led a team to the NBA Finals. He has. When Russell Westbrook made 36 games, Kevin Durant led the Thunder to still be able to win 59 games. And people forget that when Russell Westbrook tore his meniscus, and yes, Russell Westbrook was important in that 2013 playoffs because I felt like the Thunder were going to go back to the Western Conference Finals because the Memphis Grizzlies had physical defenders. They had Tony Allen, and it was easier to key in on the ramp because that's why it hurt having the Westbrook injury, because Russell is such an athletic freak. He is very difficult for Mike Conley to contain, so that would have been a problem. Kevin Durant was able to lead them at least past the Houston Rockets in the 2013 first-round playoffs against his buddy and his former teammate, James Harden, mind you. So it was done. It's like Kevin Durant has been able to do these things. It's just he hasn't been able to win and lead his team to a championship. But he has led teams before. And it's kind of sad. What do I think Kevin Durant should do? I think honestly, Kevin Durant, in my opinion, should stay with the Golden State Warriors and not let the media dictate his career. Because what they're going to do is they're setting up Kevin Durant for failure. And I can see the only way that it's going to happen is, we don't know what's going to happen in free agency. We don't know who with Kevin Durant is going to team up with. What team is he going to go to? What superstar will join Kevin Durant, to come to whatever team? It's so crazy that people are saying, well, he has to go to a team where it's like, if he can build something to where he leads that team to the championship and being the main guy. Oh my gosh, like Kevin Durant. And there's people who, like I said, people are going to be mixed about it. People are going to say, well, Kevin Durant doesn't deserve my respect because he's never been able to lead a team like LeBron James did it. I was like, but wait a minute. LeBron led the 2007 Cavs to the finals in the Eastern Conference, but he didn't win a championship that year. Or he led the team that he chose to trade away in 2018 for, as his fans love to say, a bunch of scrubs, and went to the finals and got swept. So he led, but he didn't win the championship. Oh, and mind you, in 2016, when he won one for the land, we're not going to talk about Kyrie Irving's averaging 30 points from games 3 to 7, or we're not going to mention about how Kevin Love gave you 14 rebounds and played good defense on Steph Curry in that game 7. I mean, because there's another sick narrative that's happening out here of how if Kevin Durant goes to another team, that he'll be regarded as the best when he wins a championship without all-stars. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, but didn't LeBron team up with 2 top 5 players in PER in Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh? The same 2 guys that were in the top 5 in his own draft class. I mean, I've said it before. Larry Bird won MVPs with Kevin McHale and Robert Parrish. I've said before, Magic Johnson won MVPs with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and James Worthy. But Steph Curry nor Kevin Durant can't win one because of this media narrative agenda that because they play with each other, they're not able to win because of the team that they're on. When historically, I just gave you 2 players, 2 all-time greats who are in the Hall of Fame that have won MVPs with multiple time All-Stars and Hall of Famers on their respective teams themselves. Or failed to mention that Ray Allen, with the plethora of shooters that LeBron played with, LeBron won back-to-back MVP awards. LeBron won back-to-back NBA championships, and was guarded as the best player in the world on a super team. But because it's Kevin Durant and because he's on the Golden State Warriors, because many people realize that as long as he's with the Golden State Warriors, LeBron James does not have a chance to win any championships. That is what this really is all about, ladies and gentlemen. That's what this is about. As long as Kevin Durant goes to another team in the Eastern Conference, look what's happening. People are so focused like, oh, now LeBron can beat the Golden State Warriors. Well, what if this other team that Kevin Durant happens to go to all of a sudden becomes formidable? Depending on what team it is, like if they need that it factor and he happens to join them somehow, then LeBron doesn't have to worry about the Warriors, because then if he knocks them off, they're going to say, oh, look, LeBron knocked off the Warriors. Finally, he finally got the team to knock them off. LeBron is the GOAT. He's the best. But that team doesn't have Kevin Durant on it anymore. So did you really beat a credible team? What? Because the thing was, LeBron was talking all that smack when he blocked Steph Curry in Game 6 of the 2016 finals. But once Kevin Durant came, he picked somebody. There was somebody that was his own size, or at least a little bit taller, who was more skilled and played his same position. And what happened? They lost. And that was with Kyrie Irving, who averaged 29.4 points in the NBA Finals in 2017, and Kevin Love. As a matter of fact, LeBron James with Kevin Love in 2018, Kevin Love played well. He averaged a double-double in those finals. So this whole notion that how LeBron has never had help in any of his championships, it goes back to what Steph Curry has said, that I get really tired of the media and people saying that LeBron doesn't have help. So it's very difficult to make it into the NBA, my friends. Very difficult. It's not easy. If you made it, you have something. You have something that these organizations like for you to bring. It may be you're just filling a role on the bench, but hell, man, how many guys would trade for other guys' spots to be in the NBA, making the money that they make and sitting on the bench until they get an opportunity to play? Many guys would trade their spots in a heartbeat. Oh, in a heartbeat. So the fact that people are coming out here and saying that, it's so crazy, and this is the problem. It's a biased agenda that, oh, LeBron is the best player in the world with two super teams, but Kevin Durant can't be the best because he's on the Golden State Warriors. That just shows clear bias. Clear bias. And we could say, oh, Lewis, man, it's like, yo, you've seen other guys lead the teams to championships. Here's the thing, man. Michael Jordan did it with Scottie Pippen, right? But at least he did it with just him, which is true. Just Scottie Pippen. Michael Jordan helped Scottie Pippen become a top 50 player. That's true. But Michael never won without Scottie, right? Kobe Bryant was fortunate enough to be traded, not drafted, traded into a great situation with the Los Angeles Lakers. But it took Phil Jackson and Tex Winter. And let's be real, those 2000 to 2002 Lakers were some of the lowest IQ teams lowest IQ basketball championship teams in NBA history. And it's the truth. It's the truth. But they won 3 titles together, and Kobe won with Shaq. Shaq won with Kobe. That's all they needed. But it's like those guys get the credit because they only won with 1 star. Or, Tim Duncan winning with David Robinson, or Tim Duncan winning with, Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili, on how, he was able to win championships with just, 1 all-star, in his time, right? With Tim Duncan, at least like for that season when they won championships, correct? But it's like the only one real guy, or how Allen Iverson, with really no all-stars, was able to take that Philadelphia 76er team to the NBA Finals. Or how Dirk Nowitzki won a championship with a good team, a good veteran core group, but then did it without any all-stars, and he beat the super team of Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, and LeBron James, all in their mid to late 20s. So if anybody won a championship, or we talk about Hakeem Olajuwon winning a championship with no other all-star on his team in 1994 and was Defensive Player of the Year, won the regular season MVP, and won Finals MVP. He's the only player in NBA history to accomplish that feat. No other player in history has ever done that. Or the fact that in 95 with just Clyde Drexler, with 1 all-star, was the lowest seed to ever win a championship in 1995. They beat 450 plus win teams. And 2 of them won 60. As a matter of fact, the Utah Jazz won 60 games in 95. The Phoenix Suns won 59 games in 95. The San Antonio Spurs, who had MVP David Robinson, they won a league best 62 games. And then in the finals, they beat the number 1 seed Orlando Magic that won 57 games in the East. So, they did that. But it's okay for that to happen. But no, it's not okay for LeBron James to win with multiple All-Stars and to win 2 MVPs, to win 2 championships, 2 finals MVPs. But it's not okay for Kevin Durant to do it because the league, along with the media, can't stand KD because their man LeBron James can't win championships. And that's the problem I have, ladies and gentlemen. But it's because now Kevin Durant has to prove it. LeBron did not win and if people want to talk about 2016, I already said it, man. The stimulus package that LeBron got to win that ring, that was a hand-gifted championship ring. It was hand-gifted. It was all wrapped up by Adam Silver in the league. I've already explained on numerous occasions what happened. So we're not doing this. But the fact that Kevin Durant or Steph Curry, they can't win championships or MVPs because they play together, it's really ridiculous. And we need to get out of that narrative. So that's why it's just the whole 3-6 mafia. They're just, like I said, they're mad. All they want is for their main guy. And see, this is why all these conversations tend to happen. The key is LeBron James, guys. That's what's so hidden. If you do a scratch and peel, that's what's really hidden. It's telling you, if Kevin Durant goes to another team, LeBron has a chance to win a championship. That's why Nick Wright hates the Warriors and Kevin Durant so much, because he wouldn't be hating them if KD was not on the team. Because then that gives them leeway to say, oh, look, this is why LeBron dominates, and this is why LeBron James is the greatest player of all time. That is why they say that, ladies and gentlemen. That's why. But this is why I just wanted to cover that real quick, that I think it's a ridiculous narrative. And that's why, for me, Kevin Durant should stay in Golden State. But if he decides to go and he wants to lead his team to a championship, he could definitely do that. There's no problem with that. At the end of the day, it's the decision that they made. And all these other greats that have won championships and all this kind of stuff, we have to understand. It's a different time. It was a different era. That's why. And the thing that we have to judge, we tend to judge people on. We have to kind of really understand that no matter how much we complain or how much we think, because of the mindset that we have as basketball fans, at the end of the day, it's their decision. So, I've harped on LeBron. LeBron, it's really more so his antics, okay, and how he loves to control narratives. That's really why I get on LeBron. But that doesn't dispute that he's not a great player. No, it doesn't dispute that. It's just I can't stand the media. The media, for the most part, is why I don't like LeBron James. It's not really LeBron James himself. Like I said, if he would stop his antics and stop believing in his own hype, along with the media, thinking that he's the greatest of all time, I'd be straight up cool. And then also, and that's why, at the end of the day, you got to kind of respect the move. But this is why I say that if LeBron James could be the best player in the world on two super teams, Kevin Durant could be the best player in the world. Steph Curry could be the best player in the world on the Golden State Warriors. They can. It's just, again, biased people will never let themselves admit they're too prideful. It just burns their soul that two great players on a championship team can't be the best. It's just impossible. When historically, there have been great players on championship teams, historically, if you go back into NBA history. So, I mean, Isaiah Thomas winning with just Joe Dumars as his all-star, in '89, I think Dennis Rodman made the 1990 All-Star game, and, him winning with Isaiah and them. It's like, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's why I feel like this whole conversation to me is ridiculous, man. So, and it's like, people really need to stop. Honestly, it's ridiculous. Like, I don't understand where, if it doesn't fit the narrative, it doesn't make sense. And I think that Kevin Durant, to me, is the best in the world, and he's earned that right. People are gonna say he hasn't earned it for me because he's not better than LeBron James. Ladies and gentlemen, LeBron James is not as good as he once was. People are gonna say 27-8-8. Check out my other videos. I've already debunked that myth countless times as to why he's not the best in the world anymore. He's still one of the best, just not the best. Kevin Durant is the best player right now. Because I bet you what's going to happen is if Kevin Durant were to not win a championship and he leaves, and LeBron happens to win a championship or has a great season and leads the team to the playoffs, people are going to say either LeBron was always the best, or, he reclaimed this title as the best player in the world. That's a problem. People put their narratives and their bias to control their argument. But I'm going to tell you right now, ladies and gentlemen, whether you guys have your opinions, it's fine. I'm just saying my opinion is KD's the best. Has he played great this postseason? I'm going to say he's played great against the Clippers. He hasn't played great against the Rockets. I'm going to hold him accountable for the first two games when he got himself a technical with Pat Beverly and got kicked out, and also when he fouled out in game 2 of the first round of the playoffs. I'll hold KD accountable. See, if I didn't hold him accountable, I'd just be like, oh, no, but that wasn't KD's fault. That was the Warriors. Because KD showed up and showed out. If KD's the best player, he has to be held accountable, along with the rest of the team. You can't just be always kind of making excuses for one player at times. And it's just like with the Rockets. James Harden had an eye injury. So I'm not going to sit here and say, he didn't get hurt. But in my opinion, somewhat, James Harden is over-exaggerating this a teeny tiny bit because he scored 29 points. If you can't see, you wouldn't be playing on the floor, bro. especially because with those lights bother, it's like, oh, it's muscle memory. It's like you're kind of making excuses there too, man. And that's what I'm saying. So Chris Paul needs to show up because the thing is he's scoring the rock, but he's not getting shots, and that's because D'Antoni keeps allowing James Harden to dominate the ball. Chris Paul needs to be making plays. Chris Paul has to be the one to hold the ball in his hands. What was the point of bringing in Chris Paul if he's gonna be spectator to James Harden to do the same thing? If that's the case and that's happening, and the Warriors get their act together, and I say if, just because Steph and Clay haven't played their best yet, the Warriors are gonna either sweep or gentlemen sweep the Rockets. We could say, well, the shots are gonna fall at home, bro. We're gonna have to wait and see. I'm not saying that the Rockets are not capable of winning. They are, and those shots can fall. But they need to diversify and make adjustments. If they don't do it, I'm sorry. I don't care what anybody says. I don't think that the Houston Rockets can beat the Golden State Warriors, even with the Warriors not even playing at their absolute best. I'm sorry. So this is once again Lewis with another one. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. As always, man, bless up. One love. Peace. Thanks for watching. Appreciate you guys always, man.